What's up guys, my name is Phil. Welcome back to Miranda Detailing. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how we wash a vehicle as a mobile detailer. Now guys, there are many different ways of washing your vehicle safely, efficiently, and quickly as a mobile detailer. Many detailers are familiar with the 2-bucket method, and that is a good method to wash your vehicle safely. Here as a mobile detailer, we do things a little bit differently to cut down on the water and also to cut down on time. So let me go through the processes with you, and if you are a mobile detailer, take notes. I'm going to try to help you guys to work more efficiently and actually boost your profits because you're not wasting as much water and you're getting things done quickly. So we're working on this Honda Civic, and we are going to start with 2 buckets. Now you can have as many buckets as you want. You can have your soap bucket, your rinse bucket, your wheel bucket, and so on. I have a dedicated wheel bucket, and I'm going to have a dedicated rinse bucket. So I'm not going to put any soap in this bucket. You can if you want. If you want to add extra lubrication, that's up to you. In this case, I really don't need to because of how we're going to wash the vehicle. So the vehicle really isn't too bad, and this is going to be a very quick wash and spray wax application, basically to clean the vehicle up and add a little bit of protection. We do have some light dust and pollen, debris from trees. We do have some traffic film and grime on the bottom, but again, not really that bad. So let's begin washing this vehicle, and we're going to pressure wash it first. So I have my pressure washer set up here. I'm going to show you guys just quickly what we use. It's an old 5 horsepower engine, vertical mount, and this is an AR pump. I can have links to these down below, but with most of these 4-bolt pattern 3/4 shaft mounts here, they're pretty generic. So you can find a pump that will fit a small 5 horsepower motor like this. So I do have a nice setup here where I have the water recirculating back into the tank, so I can run this pump here without having to worry about overheating the water in the pump. So it is gravity fed here to my 65-gallon tank, which I have raised just slightly, just enough so that port there is slightly higher than the intake here. So the water is going to go into here once it's all primed, which means I loosen this a little bit, have the water flow, and it'll leak out of here. And then once I see that it's actually going into the pump, I tighten this back up and then start it. And it will start to pull the water into the pump and start the whole process. It'll prime the whole line here, and then you're good to go. So let's pull this out. And I have 50 feet of hose, which is perfect. I really don't need anything more, and provides enough to be able to get around the whole vehicle. Now I'm also going to be using my foam cannon. I think this is very important because it will completely cover the vehicle with a nice layer of thick foam, breaking down dirt and grime. And then I will use my wash bucket there, my rinse bucket, to clean each panel and then rinse the mitt out in that bucket. So it's kind of a modified 2-bucket. I'm using the soap that's already on the vehicle to clean it and then rinsing it out in there. Now, are we worried about dirt and grit on here? Well, not so much because of the first phase. Let me show you. Now you can grab any type of pump sprayer that you want. You can have a foaming one, you can have one like this. These are very, very cheap and has a nice long wand on it. And some of them even have a foaming tip on the wand. They work okay, but I prefer this. So before we get to washing the vehicle, I'm going to do what's called an APC rinse. An APC rinse is going to break down the grime and the traffic film that is on the paint first before we wash it. The rinsing and the APC rinse are very important because that is going to knock off 90% or so of the debris that's going to be on the vehicle. That way when you're washing it with all of that foam, you're not going to be grinding large dirt particles into the paint. If anything, it'll just be a thin film of whatever is still on the paint that you need to use the mitt for the contact wash. So let's begin with our rinse, and then we'll apply the APC, let it dwell for like a minute or two, depending on if you're in overcast or in sunny weather, and then we will rinse that off and then foam the vehicle. The rinsing stage is very important.
Before we even touch the paint, we make sure to give it a thorough rinse. Rinsing down the vehicle first will remove the majority of heavy particles and junk that's resting on the paint from daily driving. We also make sure to carefully blast out the seams and cracks. Dirt and grime will hide in those areas, making it a nightmare to dry the paint later. So be careful when doing this. You can get close, but use discretion and inspect those areas first to make sure that no chips or flaking paint may blast away if you get too close. Next, we spray the vehicle down with a degreaser or APC. In this case, we're using Super Clean 4:1. We make sure to spray this on wet panels and never on dry paint. We also spray it onto the wheels, tires, wheel wells, door jambs, trunk lid area, as well as the gas cap. You can degrease the entire vehicle if you want to, but the lower portions are going to be the worst and have the heaviest concentration of traffic film and grime. Allow that to dwell and emulsify that grime and traffic film, then rinse away. If you're dealing with a vehicle that has good protection already, you may be able to skip this step, because degreasing will degrade any waxes or sealants faster. Plus, it will be easier to clean if the paint has been well maintained and protected. After the thorough rinse and APC rinse, it's ready to be foamed down. Is this just for looks? Of course not. It's a fast and efficient way of applying the shampoo onto the surface, making the next washing step easier and faster. At this point, the foamy shampoo is there to provide a slick cushion of bubbles to gently glide your wash mitt across the paint and release that thin film of grime that may still remain on the paint. If you want to foam up your bucket, it's optional, but it's a good idea to foam up the wheel bucket. It minimizes slingback when you start to clean the wheel barrels with the Easy Detail brush, if you use that. Oops, Odessa got foamed.
So at this phase, you have a couple of different options depending on what you want. Here's our method. The car is all foamed up, it's had its rinse and pre-rinse, so the majority of the heavy particles and grit are removed from the paint. You're dealing with just a little bit of a film that may be on the paint that you need to remove with this next wash process. So here's what we do. We already have the soap on the vehicle. I did foam up the bucket just a little bit, but at this point, I'm going to wash the entire vehicle, all the top surfaces, using this nice fluffy mitt for all the bottom surfaces and the bumper and the grungier areas. And then we're also going to use a clay mitt to decontaminate the paint mechanically. And I have a lot of questions about this, saying, is it grinding stuff into the paint? Remember, the first phases of rinsing and the APC rinse have already removed the majority of particles on the paint. So don't overthink it. These are going to be details that you're doing on everyday drivers. They're going to be grungy and they're not going to be paying for full paint corrections. So even if this does mar just a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to show you guys, if there is any marring, how we can correct that after the vehicle is washed and dried. So let's continue with the wash process. So I will take my mitt, and I have my clay mitt here, and I'll wash each panel, and I'll use the clay mitt to remove any bonded grit. Now, I'm not using any pressure, I'm kind of just letting the mitt do its thing, or the towel do its thing. You can start on the windshield as well. If it is a new clay mitt or clay towel, start on the windshield first, the glass. It kind of breaks in that rubberized material and it will remove the grit on the paint. And you will hear it as well. It covers a large surface area, which is great. And it gets the job done much quicker, much more efficient. Remember, if you are worried about grit being pushed into the paint with this method, which it really isn't, then you can wash the vehicle, foam it back up, and then use the mitt. That way you know all the particles are gone. You're just dealing with the foam on the paint and whatever is bonded to the paint. That way there's a little bit of peace of mind with no grit grinding across the paint. Again, it's not really doing that because you do have a ton of lubrication here, tons of foam. It's adding the lubrication to the towel. I'm going to continue with this process. We'll get everything washed, and then we'll rinse, dry, and then we'll go on to the next process. Now, when it comes to the bumper, I do have this smaller mitt here with the bug sponge. And if you're dealing with some nasty grungy bugs, you can use that side to remove those bugs. You can also use your brush. So you can use whatever nice brush that you want and get into all these little intricate areas, which this Civic does have a lot of intricate areas up here. You can use a little bit more APC if you are dealing with some heavier bugs up here. And another cool tip, if you're dealing with chrome, a lot of this chrome, especially on huge trucks, then you can actually use an acid-based wheel cleaner. Because it's chrome, the acid-based wheel cleaner works very well in removing bugs and debris from that. So think about it on your wheels. The chrome wheels, if you're dealing with a lot of brake dust, acid-based wheel cleaners like the Meguiar's wheel brightener works very well on chrome grills. So just a little tip, keep that in mind when you are cleaning nasty chrome grills like this. Use a little bit of that wheel brightener on the chrome part itself. It's not going to harm anything else on here, especially if you have a lot of foam and it's all wet. It's not going to harm anything anyway, but primarily use it for the chrome. Now you can also spray emblems down with all-purpose cleaner and use a nice soft bristle brush and get into all these little intricate areas. And this will just get all around these little corners and edges where the mitt really missed and couldn't get into. So you can do this all around the vehicle, get into all these little cracks and crevices, and you'll see it will definitely aid in removing any debris, any gunk that might be in these little areas trapped. Same goes with around these areas. You can pull these apart. I'm working with one hand, so I can't do that now, but pull those apart and get in there. And this area too, make sure to clean that side mirror, and those bristles will go inside that area and clean it. Same with this area. Difficult to get into with the mitt, but the brush will get into it. You can also move the mirrors like this and clean all in that area, as well as the windshield cowl area. Okay, so now with everything washed, let's rinse it down and let's start on the wheels. Now let's start on the wheels. Now, this is going to be personal preference and dependent on the weather and where you are. I wash the paint first because it's overcast. I'm not worried about anything drying on the paint. The sun's not coming out, not going to damage anything here on the paint. It's not going to leave water spots or anything like that because it is overcast. So I decided to wash everything first. It's going to remain wet for a couple of minutes as I do the wheels and tires. That's not a problem. Now, if I was working alone in the direct sunlight, then I would work on the wheels and tires first. That way you're leaving the paint dry and dirty. You're not touching the paint yet. In that case, start on the wheels and tires first, then work your way up to washing the rest of the vehicle. because once you're done washing the vehicle and rinsing, you want to get to drying right away, especially in direct sunlight. That way you're not dealing with any water spots that might appear on the paint. But if you do get a little bit of water spots, don't worry about that. Again, the protection stage is going to eliminate any little water spots that may have appeared on your paint within just the 20 or 30 or so minutes of your washing the vehicle. So those light water spots can be removed very easily. So let's start on the wheel and tire. I'm going to use Brake Buster. It's diluted 1 to 3, and I got a cool foaming tip on here. It will actually produce a nice thick foam, and it'll cling and actually clean really well. And I'm not worried about getting into the barrels because there are no barrels. These are just hubcaps on these wheels. So I'm just going to use one of these brushes, and you can use this brush here to get into the wheel wells also. And then I have this brush for the tires, which the Brake Buster definitely broke down a lot of grunge on these tires. You can clean these tires as much as you want. That way the browning doesn't appear anymore. And that way you know you have a nice squeaky clean tire. So the next phase is the drying phase. Now you want to choose a nice fluffy towel. You can do this with smaller towels. I just have this nice large drying towel here. And again, any of these products or tools, check the description down below. Now you can simply dry the paint and go on to the next protection stage, or you could add a drying aid. Many different choices out there. We have Bead Maker, which adds a ton of gloss. The protection on this will last about a month or so. So it's not going to be superior protection, but the ease of application, the water beading is amazing, and it acts as a drying aid and a gloss enhancer. Or you can choose another product like the Meguiar's Synthetic Express Spray Wax. This stuff is also an amazing product. The protection on it, probably about a month or so. Don't worry about the protection part of it. If you're doing a maintenance detail, you should have already put a good wax or sealant or a coating, and then you can use these products on top of them if you so choose. Or use the appropriate coating maintenance silica sprays, such as CarPro Reload for C-Quartz and so on. So I'm going to use the Synthetic Express Spray Wax, and you can spray it either right onto your towel or right onto the paint, and use your nice fluffy drying towel as a drying aid. And this stuff smells really nice. You instantly smell it. Just like Bead Maker, it's not that fruity of a smell, but it's more of a citrusy smell. Really nice stuff. So let's dry this. And again, you can spray it onto the towel, onto the paint, and it aids in the drying. And this goes onto paint, glass, plastic, everything. It's really nice to use. So let's change things up a bit and use a different product. Why? Because I like to. I'm going to use the Turtle Wax Hybrid Solutions Wet Wax. This stuff is also an amazing drying aid, and this puts protection on the paint that will outlast those other products. So you can get like 2 to 3 months with a product like this. Again, easy to use, shake it, apply it directly onto the paint. And the great thing about each of these products that we showed you, they can be used in direct sunlight. So they're perfect for mobile detailers, because if you're going to be working in direct sunlight, you do need to work fast. And if you're using products like this that add protection, this also aids stopping any water spots on your vehicle. Will it completely eliminate them? No, but the more layers of protection that you have on your paint, the better. It will make the water spots easier to remove if you do get some on. So again, spray directly onto the paint. Don't worry about overusing the product because it doesn't streak, it doesn't cause any problems whatsoever. Each of these products don't cause any problems on your paint with over application. I'm loving this stuff. All right, guys, now I wasn't going to show you this originally, but I do want to show you at least this process because this is going to, for one, remove any of the marring that you may have had from your clay bar or clay mitt or towel in the washing process. You're gonna get that marring no matter how you clay your vehicle. It depends on the paint. If it's soft black paint or dark colored paint, you're most likely going to see marring. If it's harder paint, then not really. I'll have another video showing you what the difference is between hard and soft paint and how you can tell. Briefly, basically you can tell if the paint is soft, if any type of touching on it is going to produce some sort of mark or defect or marring on the paint. Then you know your paint is very soft. That could be good or bad. We'll discuss that later. But for now, let's show you guys how we wax the vehicle. Now we have an entry-level DA polisher from Max Shine. This thing is awesome. Don't be fooled by its price tag. It's under $100, but it's a 900 watt heavy duty polisher. It's very impressive, and I've been using it now for a couple of weeks and I love it. I now prefer it over my border cable because I feel that it has a little bit more torque, a little bit more power, and I like that it's slightly heavier. I feel that it's a little bit better balanced. That's just me. That's just from years of handling the polisher like this on the paint, and I noticed the difference. But when I put pad to the paint, I feel that the balance is a little bit better. So grab a nice soft polishing pad like this. This is a polishing or finishing waxing pad. And the wax we're going to use today is the Meguiar's Hybrid Ceramic Liquid Wax. So again, I've been using this stuff. It's sun friendly, works in the heat on a black car, in direct sunlight, and it works great. So shake up the product. I'm going to put just a little bit here. That's all you need for about half the hood. Now, if you're curious about the detailer cord snaps, I have plenty of videos on that, but basically these guys are great for mobile detailers because they snap right onto your shirt. They attach your cord from your polisher behind your back right to your belt. You don't have to have one of these belts if you don't want to. You can just have your regular belt or anything on your pants, but this little guy here is attached to the extension cord, so this never drags on the floor or on the ground. So I attach it to my belt and it stays there nice and secure, and you can either have it behind you or right at your hip here. I prefer to have it right here, and the belt is great too because you can keep your wax bottle right on you. So now the cord will never hit the paint. Really quick, I'm going to show you guys how we apply this. I can get half the hood with that amount of wax on here. Super thin, very even application, and let's go. So that's half the hood done. I'm going to put just 2 dime-sized spots like that and continue on the other side. Now, when you're machine applying wax like this, you don't need to put any downward pressure. Just let the polisher do the work. You can see it's very well balanced. So you can basically just hold it in place. I hold it with one hand like this, and I get maximum control over the polisher. So I can quickly go over an area like this and just move on. So I will wax the entire vehicle just like this. Whatever wax you're using, if it does need to sit for a little bit, then you can do that and then you can wipe it right off. When you're using a polisher like this, especially in direct sunlight, everything's going to be heated up a little bit. It's going to be hot panels, and once you add the friction part of it, it is heating up the wax a little bit. Some waxes and sealants are like that, some do not. It all depends on the product. Some products are sun friendly, some are not. Find the product that works for you. I'm finding that the hybrid wax works really, really well. The M27 from Meguiar's works well. The Meguiar's finishing wax works really well. Many of the products from Extreme Solutions works really well, and many other products that you see on our channel here that we use in direct sunlight, they work well. So we're going to use them for our mobile jobs. Now also, if you do see a little bit of a bug splatter or a bird dropping that didn't come out completely with the wash process, you can bump the speed up on here and use just a little bit of pressure. Just work on that a little bit more, like you're polishing it, but you're still just using the soft pad and that liquid wax. It does have a little bit of cleaners in it, and again, you're adding the friction of the pad here, and it's going to remove those little bug etchings or bird droppings or anything like that. Not all the time, but if it's fresh, then it will remove it. Doing this also glosses up your paints, and again, using less product. So it's a win-win situation. You can be very fast and efficient in your mobile detailing business. Now, another tip, this will remove any minor water spots that you got from the wash process. Not necessarily water spots that are already on the paint. This paint does already have water spots, basically from being out in the elements. If we want to remove those, that would have to be a paint correction or a paint enhancement to remove those water spots. This process is not going to remove old water spots. It's going to remove fresh ones. The mechanical action, the friction that you're getting, the little bit of cleaners in the liquid wax, it's going to clean up those light minor water spots. So if you do end up with a little bit of fresh water spots from your wash process, this will eliminate them, so don't worry about that. And if they're not being eliminated, then that means that those spots have been there for a long time. You need to upsell your customer to a paint enhancement to remove those water spots. That's something that you would have to have a discussion with your customer about. This Meguiar's hybrid ceramic liquid wax is pretty impressive stuff. I like how it melts into the paint, it kind of disappears into it, and it produces an awesome glossy, slick shine on your paint. Very smooth, very slick, and you're good to go, or at least your customer is good to go. So now at the end of the whole process, once everything is waxed and you removed all of the residue, you might see a little streak, a little residue here and there. And if it's not removing with the towel, you might need just a little bit of help with a detailer. So I'm going to use the Hybrid Solutions Ceramic 3-in-1 Detailer. It's just a quick detailer. It is going to add its own protection as well. Don't worry about bonding issues, if this is going to bond on top of this or that. Don't overthink it. Many of these products are going to bond on top of each other anyway. If you want to go into the whole science of it, you can, but don't worry about that. You're a mobile detailer, keep things simple. If your customer's vehicle is glossy and it beads water like crazy for weeks or even months, they're gonna be happy, you're gonna be happy. So don't worry about that, don't overthink it. So we're going to use this product to shake it up. And I know I'm being liberal, just to show you guys that you can just spray it right on top of the protection and you'll be fine. And again, this is a sun-friendly product. It loves the heat and direct sunlight, and it flashes away really quick in the direct sunlight, and you're left with nice, clean, glossy, slick surface. And any smudges, anything that you see, eliminate it with a little bit of quick detailer. You don't have to use this one. Use whichever one you want, but this is an awesome choice. And this can go on glass, plastic trim, wheels, everything. So let's move on to the wheels and the tires. And if you need to, or if you want to, you can spray a little bit of protection on this as well. If it's a maintenance customer, it will make your process easier the next time. I'm going to use the ceramic detailer from Meguiar's, spray it on my towel, and just apply it onto the wheel portion itself. Is this going to prevent brake dust completely? No. It's just going to shine them up and add a little bit of protection so that when you do clean them next time, hopefully brake dust and grime will wash off that much easier, especially if you keep up on it. And then I'm going to use Meguiar's Hyper Dressing. I'm using this straight, and the tire is still a little bit wet, but I'm not worried about that. I'm going to work it into the tread, into the rubber, and there we go. Clean up a little bit of the edges here if you do get a little bit of excess on the wheel or the hubcap, and there we go, looking great. Now, what about your glass and your windshields? Well, you can again use any product that you choose, a dedicated glass cleaner, or on the exterior, use something with a little bit of protection. So again, I'll use some bead maker right on the glass itself because it is a great cleaner, and again, it'll add the protection. So make sure to work all around the edges, lifting up the blades, getting all the way down to the edges. And you can use multiple towels if you want. Flip the towels and hand polish it until all the streaking is gone. Unfortunately, it's raining a little bit on me here, so it's just raining on the glass again. But that's okay. The customer will now have protected, clean glass on their windshield, and it'll just bead off as they're driving down the road. All right, guys, so that's our process for washing and even protecting the vehicle with our mobile services. So it's very fast, it's very efficient, and usually I'm not cleaning by myself. My wife is helping, so we each have our processes, our things that we do, and it just makes the whole process extremely fast and efficient. Now, there are other things that we didn't show you, such as the engine cleaning, the door jambs, the trunk lid. What do we use to protect the trim? Do we do that before or after? How do you clean the glass inside and out? So those things we will answer in further videos. This is kind of an introduction into the mobile aspect of washing and detailing customers' vehicles. So guys, if you do have any questions, if you want to see the other processes, let me know down below what you would like to see next, and I'll try my best to film that on our next job and show you the processes of the other things that we do for the mobile services. So again, if you're interested in any of the tools or the products that we use, check out the description down below. I'll have links there for you. They'll go to either Amazon or Car Supplies Warehouse. And if you've you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, like it, share with others who may enjoy it or benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell. That way you get notifications each time these videos drop each week and you don't miss stuff. And guys, if you want some merchandise, we have new shirts, hoodies, mugs, and even a pillow with Mr's face on it. Check out the merch shelf down below. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Ooh, slick.